Did you know that we can publish our books under multiple names over on Amazon? If you've ever wondered whether or not you should be using a pen name instead of your own, then this video is for you. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. In this video, we're going to look at 1. What a pen name is and why using a pen name instead of our own might be beneficial at times. 2. Possible advantages and disadvantages of using a pen name. 3. We'll look at 5 different methods we can use to come up with our very own pen name, including fun pen name examples within the children's book world. 4. We'll look at the 4 main things we'll want to pay attention to if we decide to choose and use a pen name ourselves. And 5. We'll look at how Amazon handles it when authors publish under different names and how all this works legally. Now, a pen name is essentially a name authors choose and use to publish their books under if they don't want to use their own. So instead of using their own legal name, they make one up. The terms pen name, pseudonym, and alias all mean the same thing and are pretty much used interchangeably. There are 4 main reasons why some writers choose to use a pen name instead of their own. Reason number 1 for using a pen name is to maintain privacy. Some authors may not want others to know that they have written a book, especially if it's anything controversial or if it's something that might interfere with an author's professional life. For example, one of my Children's Book University students chose to use a pen name for her children's books, mainly because she's using her regular name for her regular business and her business branding. As an attorney, she wanted to make sure that when people were searching for her name, her branded site as an attorney would show up, not her books about tummy aches and flatulence. Reason number 2 for using a pen name is to keep our work as an author separate, especially if we are writing books in a couple of different literary genres. When publishing our work over on Amazon, we can have up to 3 separate author pages or author profiles with different pen names under one and the same KDP account, all accessible via our Author Central account. And every time we want to access one of our author profiles, we simply select it from the drop-down menu within Author Central. Having a separate author page or author profile for each of our pen names allows us to keep our listed books over on Amazon separate. And this can be really useful, especially as a children's author. And each author profile allows us to create a separate author bio as well. This right here, for example, is a partial list of my books that pops up whenever readers click on my author name, Eevi Jones. None of my books from my other author profiles will show up here because those are listed under a different author name. Being able to set up separate author profiles like this can come in really handy. And here's why. Let's say an author writes both romance books and children's books. This author wouldn't want their covers of their romance books pop up right next to their children's books, right? And so for branding purposes, we may want to keep different genres separate, especially as a children's author. Now, the beauty of being able to set up 3 separate author profiles on Amazon is that besides being able to create 3 separate author bios along 3 separate lists of books, our KDP dashboard on the book end remains one and the same. So we only have to log into one KDP account in order to access all the books under all our pen names. Things like royalty payments or tax paperwork or running ads would all occur under one single account, and that's the account we used when we signed up for our KDP account with our legal name. Reason number 3 for using a pen name is when our regular name is either too common or there is a well-known author with the same name within the author world. If a name is too common, being found among a sea of authors with the same name can get really challenging and time-consuming because potential buyers may have to go through lots and lots of different search results to find our own listings. And this can get really confusing for our potential readers. When it comes to marketing and promoting our beautiful children's books, I always like to think ahead. And so having a common name makes it quite challenging to set up social media accounts with that name or to get it as a domain name for a future website. So really, a very common name makes it harder to brand ourselves. The same holds true if our name is also the name of a well-known author, because then that author will hog all the airtime by dominating Google search results and Amazon search results for that name. And reason number 4 for using a pen name is to make it easier for our name to be remembered, or to simply make it easier for our name to be pronounced and spelled if our name is a tricky one. So looking at these 4 main reasons why some authors choose to use a pen name, using a pseudonym can be really helpful. It can help us with our personal branding, and it can help prevent confusion. That being said, there are some disadvantages as well, but mainly only if we are choosing to use a pen name for privacy reasons, because if we choose a pen name in order to remain faceless, it does make the promoting a bit harder, simply because we couldn't go out and talk about our book or tell others about it, because that then would defeat the purpose of publishing it under a different name. And of course, choosing a pen name out of privacy reasons makes the celebrating of the publishing of our beautiful children's book much harder as well. But if we choose to use a pseudonym for reasons other than our privacy, then using a pen name can be really fun and something really exciting, because we get to choose a name for ourselves. So let's look at 5 ways or methods we can use to come up with our own pen name. Method number 1 would be to choose a name we always wanted for ourselves. By deciding to use a pen name, we essentially get to reinvent ourselves, right? We get to choose who we want to be. So perhaps there's a name you already prefer to your regular name that you always use to introduce yourself with. Or perhaps there is a name you always wished your parents gave you, or maybe there's a name that has a special meaning to you. These would all be beautiful options for our pen name. My favorite example here is Dave Pilkey, the author of the Dogman series and the Captain Underwear series. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but this author's name, Dave, is spelled without an E at the end. And the reason for that is that when Dave worked as a waiter at a pizza restaurant, they tried to make him a name tag with one of these old-fashioned label makers. But the letter E was broken on that label maker, so his name tag read D-A-V without an E. And it stuck and now has a special meaning to this author. Another great example here is Samuel Clemens' pen name Mark Twain. Samuel chose his pen name because it had meaning to him. He was a licensed river pilot, and Mark Twain is a river term where the measure of the depth of the water was expressed with a crewman's cry, "Mark Twain," meaning about 12 feet. So in a sense, Mark Twain meant that it was safe to navigate. So if you too have something that means something special to you, it might be worth considering when you're trying to come up with a pen name. Method number 2 of creating our own pen name is to simply come up with something silly or easily memorable. After all, we are writing for little ones, right? My favorite example here is Daniel Handler's pen name, Lemony Snicket, the author of A Series of Unfortunate Events. It's a name he came up with for one of his earlier projects, so he decided to resurrect this fun and memorable name for a number of his books. Another great example here is Theodore Seuss Geisel's short and catchy name, Dr. Seuss, where he simply took his middle name and added the doctor part because his father had always wanted him to practice medicine. It's short, it's catchy, and very memorable. Method number 3 of creating our own pen name is to simply use initials. Those can be made up initials or our actual initials. The most memorable and well-known example of this method is Joanne Rowling's pen name J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. This author's original reason for using initials was that her publisher wanted to disguise the fact that she was a woman, so that her books would appeal to both boys and girls. And because she doesn't have a middle name, she simply chose the letter K, which stands for her grandmother's name, Kathleen. Method number 4 of creating our own pen name is to use a more strategic one. Here we are actually considering our target audience. In this case, our target audience wouldn't be our little readers, but those who would be most likely to purchase our books for our little readers. Once we have determined the age of those most likely to buy our book, we can go to a website like babycenter.com and find the most popular names of our target audience's birthday year. I found a link on babycenter.com that shows a separate list of the most popular names by year, and I've added it in the description below. Names play a really big role in the psyche of buyers, so choosing our name based on our target audience can be a really great way to choose a pen name. And method number 5 of creating our own pen name is to use something like a name generator tool. This method is something we could use if we truly can't come up with anything ourselves, or if we simply want some inspiration. There are so many different options online. My favorite pen name generator tool is name-generator.org.uk. I've added the link to this tool in the description below. And the reason I like this particular one is because it takes our actual name and some basic facts about us and then rearranges them to create a list of meaningful pen names for us to choose from. And it can even match our selected genre. And it also has a completely random option as well. Now, what are some of the things we should consider when choosing a pen name for ourselves? 1, we want to consider our pen name's availability. And by availability, I mean whether or not the domain name for a potential website would be available. So before picking a name, we could check a domain name's availability, and we could go to a place that offers domain names like GoDaddy.com, for example, and check if our desired domain name is available. And we would also want to check the availability of social media handles for our pen name, at least for the primary social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Here, my ninja tip would be to go get those social media handles for our pen name as soon as possible, even if we're not planning to use those accounts right away. 2, we want to make sure our pen name isn't too similar or identical to another author's name. Here, we could simply perform a Google search and also search for the name over on Amazon directly to see what comes up, especially if there are already well-known personalities with the same name out there. It might make it really hard to outrank this other person's search results. So it's definitely something we'll want to keep in mind. 3, we want to make sure our pen name is easy to pronounce and spell and not too hard to remember. Especially tricky spelling can make it hard for people to search for our name and find us. If we're going through the trouble of finding the perfect pen name for ourselves, one of our goals should be to make it easier for potential readers to find us, not harder. And 4, when choosing our pen name, we'll want to make sure to consider and remember our literary genre. Steamy names might not be the most appropriate choice as a children's author, or names that create less desirable mental images like Mercedes Bloodworth, for example, or names that immediately bring fictional characters to mind like Walter White, for example. Especially as a children's author, we'll want to make sure to consider all these things before choosing a pen name. Now, once we have chosen a pen name, how do we go about using it? Well, first of all, we add our pen name wherever we would usually use our regular name, whether that's on our book cover or our copyright page or our About the Author page. And using our pen name during the book setup is really easy as well. Whenever we are ready to upload our book onto KDP, we first need to create a KDP account. Here we would use our regular legal name. And once we are uploading our book and are prompted to enter the author name, we would simply enter our pen name instead of our regular name. And so while our KDP or Amazon account is under our legal name for all payment purposes and tax purposes and things like that, our book itself is listed under our pen name. That way, no buyers on the front end on Amazon will know the actual account holder of the KDP account. They will only know the pen name that was used during the setup process. Only Amazon itself knows what KDP account is associated with what pen name. Buyers will not. And like I mentioned earlier, Amazon enables us to create up to 3 Amazon profiles on our KDP account. Our name is our brand. And so ideally, we want our name to be associated with our books, our brand, and whatever our brand stands for. I would love for others to immediately think of the name Eevi Jones when they have children's book related questions. As authors, we wish for our names to become household names, known and recognized by all. And by choosing a pen name, we essentially have the opportunity to choose the name we always wanted for ourselves. We get to reinvent ourselves, right? We get to choose who we want to be. And how fun is that? If you've ever thought about using a pen name, I really hope you found this video helpful in deciding how to go about the name choosing process. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to your very own pen name. Bye!